Good afternoon, James here from Sunseeker Southampton, down in a very sunny Swanwick marina, and this afternoon we're going to run out a lovely new to market Princess V48. She's called Vida, she's 2017, she's just behind me here in the water on a lovely berth here, deep pontoon at Swanwick Marina. Owner is moving off to the Mediterranean, hopefully with his next boat, which means this one potentially could stay here. That's really important to mention at the moment, as berthing is really difficult around here. Massive premium, and to get a lovely finger mooring like this here at Swanwick is a pretty unique opportunity. So hopefully we can combine the two and keep her local. So this is a 3-owner boat. We've known the last 2 owners. She was originally down in Spain from supply, but back here on the 31st of December 2020, so she's deemed UK Tax Paid. Really nice spec boat. We're about 255 engine hours from new. She's got a Seakeeper Gyro, full suite of marine navigation kit, generator, reverse cycle, air conditioning, etc., making her usable both in the Med and also here on the sunny south coast. So we're just having a little look around the outside here. You can see the general condition. Boat's washed off regularly by one of the local valeters, and she is actually booked to come out of the water here at Swanwick in a couple of weeks' time for her annual maintenance. So it's an ideal opportunity negotiating on the boat in the coming weeks to have her fully prepped. She's going to be serviced, anti-fouled and what have you. As you can see, as she lies here today, very nice clean condition. We've got this lovely bright white shiny gel coat on the hull. Come all the way forward, you'll see we've got an ultra style stainless steel anchor up front there, very imposing, great for sand holding and mud holding and what have you. Really nice gel coat. Point out a couple of lits. We've got a couple of little gel chips there as an easy repair. You can see a few things like on the mullions here, just ready for a polish here, say pre-season time, as we are coming towards the end of April 22. She's got the nice little inlaid detailing on the engine vents there with that sort of graphite sprayed finish, and the same with the boot top stripe there running just above the waterline. There is a garage, obviously being the V48 Open model. This is a garage in here we'll have a look at when we come back. The owner is keeping the Williams tender, but it will take a Williams sort of 285 or even a 325 at a squeeze into the garage itself, and then there's room on the back if you wish to run a small jet ski such as a Sea-Doo Spark as well. So it's a great water sports platform. These really popular, powered by a pair of Volvo D6 435 engines on IPS pod drives. So she's technically IPS600 with the benefit also of a bow thruster. She has a Yacht controller, which is a remote control docking aid as well. So very little needed. So we're just going to do a quick start-up procedure here and we'll get out and away. We've actually dropped off a couple of lines and taken the electric leads off already. I'm just going to show you what it's like to power up. Being Volvo's newer style engines, we've got the little fob here. Just need to beep that on the panel. You see the 2 little lights come on for the ignitions, and the displays will wear into life here. You can see the engine hours up there on the dashboard reading 255 a piece. Owner's down over the next few days, so that might go up slightly. We've got the optional, as is typically seen on IPS boats, the 7-inch colour display there. So with our ignitions on, throttle's in neutral, it literally is a case pushing the button there and the engines will fire into life. So this is like a digital display showing all sorts of different temperatures and pressures on the engines. Obviously these days it's very much computer controlled. There's very little really to monitor on there day to day. We've got Humphrey stabilizer system, which is active trim tabs, which will control your yaw on the boat when you're running, and we'll have a play with that today. We've got a remote control spotlight control here. This is our Seakeeper gyro control panel, and we'll set that up as we go down the river so that we can have a go with that out at sea. It is requiring the generator to be on, so we'll do that in a sec as well. It's running about 100 hours on the generator. A couple of more bits to note down here. So we've got a button here which opens this big side window next to the helm. Really handy for docking. Owners asked us to bring the boat back in, bows in when we get back in, so you'll see today me driving the boat sort of both ways around on the berth here. You can see you've got a nice view all the way from the stern right up to the bow there from the side window. And obviously, if you haven't noticed already, we've got the roof open. So being an open boat, we've got a soft canvas sectional roof in here with a nice big sturdy GRP front section. You can see the rubber seal on there, and that clamps down on this forward leading edge to close the boat off when the weather isn't so nice. We'll have a play with it open and closed today. And then some other kit worthy of note, we've got a 16-inch hybrid touch Raymarine Axiom display here, and then we've got also a little control here. We're just going to turn the brightness up. You'll be able to see that better on the screen. So obviously it's a bright day today, so this is a multi-function display, gives us lots of different readouts. And we've got bow thruster control, banker switches here controlling lights and what have you. We've got underwater lights under the back of the boat, so it looks pretty at night. Little control to activate the yacht controller remote system, and then we've got a speaker and the handset VHF itself. Just quick scan around the cockpit before we depart. Obviously a helm and co-pilot seat and a nice social seating out the back with the sun pad and what have you. Pros and cons to the open boat versus the closed patio door version that Princess also offer on this hull. The idea, obviously, on a nice day such as today, we've got a lovely big cockpit. We've got the ability to close off this aft section. There's a very nice fitted aft canopy package with the boat, which does allow you to use this area all year round. Some owners electing to add diesel heating up here as well, if you want to truly use the boat in the winter. Nice little observation seat here over on the port side as well. So what we're going to do now, just going to check my controls. As the boat is set up when it first starts, actually we're live on the throttles. But we're just going to click on the docking button there, and that basically means we are on the joystick for departure. Quick tap on the bow thruster control there, and just quick blip to make sure that works. The steering will now be effectively locked off, as I'm going to take the boat off the berth today on the joystick. We'll set a camera up here in the cockpit when we come back in, just so you can see what the docking's like close quarters and how I'm using all the controls to manipulate our arrival back onto the berth. So just going to give Dan the green light. Dan, we're all good. Let's go get her out to sea. So you can see lines wise, we've still got a spring here on the bow, so we'll be dropping this one off first. We've got a short line there to take her off the pontoon itself, and then we've just got the stern line here as well. So benefit of the joystick control is obviously we've got almost indefinite power here to hold the boat against the pontoon when we need to. So I just gently engage that over here. It is basically pinning the boat on the dock here. See, we're not drifting fore and aft. Dan's got time to go and do those lines. You'll see me doing this on the larger yachts with the thrusters themselves, where they're hydraulic thrusters. That obviously is an option. On something like this, not so much so. So we tend to use the joystick on an IPS boat. So just holding it in the wind at the moment. Obviously using the boat next door here as a reference, I can just check that we don't drift back. So there comes the bow line off. Okay. And we're off. So you can see lines all clear. We're lucky today, nothing alongside us here, so we can just tease the boat out. You can see doing everything nice and slow. On the joystick here, we've got a nice easy access mooring here. So we'll just be coming off. You can see I'm just using a bit side because we've got the wind over on the port side here. Just going to take her out nice, pretty much straight here. So the way the joystick works, obviously if we twist the top now, we just have to check we obviously have clearance behind us. Twist the top and the boat will actually start to rotate. You can see pretty much almost on her own axis. Very nice close quarters manoeuvring. Obviously just keeping an eye around the back there, we don't catch the bathing platform. So we can just twist around, and we can actually drive her now. We engage forward there, we can steer as well. So we've now engaged forward control and both engines together. You can see we're just keeping the joystick centered You can see that tide running, river's running quite hard today, so we're just going to, hopefully we won't meet anybody when we get out in the channel here. Great thing with this joystick system is if I was to let go of the controls, which I'll do shortly just as we come out into the river here, the boat is instantly back into neutral, and if we wanted to we can just swap straight onto the throttle controls themselves. But just twisting the top here now, we're still on the low power mode. It does have a high power mode as well, but you can see the boat is coming round, rotating nicely in the tide. And if we wanted to come off this now, we could literally just engage onto our sticks. The steering is reactivated and we're away. It's a very, very clever system. IPS has been around since about 2002. You see I've got a rudder angle indicator up there, which is just showing the angle where my pods are pointing underneath. IPS, obviously the pods face forward, duoprop propellers, so one's going that way, one's going that way, and they're like egg whisks, two of them effectively in parallel facing forward, and they tend to pull the boat through the water rather than a shaft drive boat where it's pushing it up and on, so it's very smooth. They tend to stay quite level when they first come out of the water. We'll have a play with that today so you can see what the handling's like, both at slow speed and up on the plane. Boat's quite weedy underneath, so I suspect we won't be getting full RPM today, but certainly should be sufficient to get her up, demonstrate what this is like, some turns and what have you. We're going to get some nice drone shots as it's not too windy. Hopefully you get a feel for what it'd be like if you were to be the lucky new owner. So we've got about 25 minutes as always running down the river here, slow speed, which gives a chance for the engines to warm up. You can see we're running quite slowly today, just under 5 knots, as a basis we've actually got a bit of tide running underneath us as well. So we're just going to get everything stowed away and we'll check back. We'll carry on our tour around the boat. Okay, so we're just out here in Southampton water, as you can see. Lovely day, sun's still out. So we're just going to have a quick run up through the RPM so you can see what the boat's like from a standing start. I do point out again, boat's quite weedy underneath, so we can't get maximum speed today, but we'll just run her up onto the plane so you can see how it works. On the display here we have Humphrey's active trim system, so as the speed comes up you'll see the tabs are starting to move downwards there, and that also has a self-leveling function to correct the list of the boat. But you'll see the nose staying relatively flat there, you see the tabs coming down automatically, and if we come across here on the speed you'll see it climbing. Boat will probably do about 18 knots I suspect flat out today, so she's quite weedy underneath, but we should still be able to give you everything we want in terms of a feel of how the boat runs. There's a nice clean wake shot there behind, visibility very good. You can see these huge glass windows all the way around, makes the boat very easy to helm, and everything, as you can see as we're moving here, is nicely to hand. So I've got my throttles here, I've got my joystick, and we've got all the sort of easy to reach controls. So tabs, you can see they've got the list function on at the moment, so they're moving very quickly. They're a blade system that runs up and down vertically. It means they're a lot faster to operate than the old classic hydraulic systems. Across here, obviously this is pinch to zoom. You can see there's no card in it at the moment, but very fast redraw speed. And if we go to a different page here, we've got a 24-inch 4 kilowatt dome high definition radar there. If you just pop up top, you can see that up there. Whilst we're clear behind us here, I'm just going to take the boat into a turn, see how it banks over. Very graceful with IPS. Doesn't tend to lose much in the way of speed. Just come back over here to the chart page. See, we're staying on the plane. The boat with a clean bottom will run about 34 knots flat out. Cruise speed typically about 22, 24 knots on one of these, and we're burning there about 110, 120 litres an hour. 1,320 litres of fuel on board, so plenty for channel crossings, sort of 250 nautical mile range at that sort of cruise speed. And when you want the wind in your hair, so really opening it up, it's an absolute rocket to drive underneath. It's really important with an IPS boat through the season to keep it clean. So as often you'll get the boat lifted mid-season for a wash off and what have you. So what I'm going to do here is just come down off the plane, and we'll go in and we'll use the little green buoy over here on our port side as a reference. I'm just going to show you how the yacht controller system works. And we talk a lot about the remote control systems and how they can make life easier if you're often out single-handed, or certainly out perhaps without an experienced crew. Very common to see them in the Med, not so much here in the UK just with how we dock, but I'm just going to give you a quick idea of how that works, and it's easier to show with something as a fixed reference in the water here. So we just come back off the plane, we'll ease the speed down. You can see we were running just up to about 18 knots there. So we're going to bring her back into tick over, just careful not to flood the bathing platform there with that stern wave. Comes back. So basically just knock our throttles back into neutral there. This is the gadget we're talking about. They do different types of remote depending on what you want. So you can have 2 shaft controls. This particular one's got the twist function on here, which is going to use our pod drives. So basically you turn the dashboard switch on there, and this one as well. And you'll hear it beeping as it just goes through its connectivity phase. So we've got a double tap on here, get flashing lights here, and if we put the docking button on now on the joystick, we've got complete control of the boat. So if I let go of that, engines go back into neutral. We've got a little green light on there to show that it's got control. What we're just going to do is leave the helm, take you up on the bow and show you how this might work. So imagine having this hanging around your neck, coming into a mooring. You haven't got lots of crew with you. Perhaps you need to leave the dock on your own for whatever reason. Using that green buoy as a reference over there, so we can twist the top on the boat here, and that's going to bring us round. You can see that nose coming round onto the buoy. We're on low speed at the moment, so if I push S, which is the sport mode, it will actually give me a few more RPMs, and we can actually now push it forward, and we are driving. So we are off, as you can see there, away from the helm, pushing the button forward, and whilst I'm going forward I can turn the top as well, and you'll see that steers us away. And then if I twist it over here, it's going to bring us back round to the left. It's a very, very clever system. They have dual frequency controls, and I've let go of the buttons now and we're back into neutral. So they're very safe. As soon as you go back to the helm, you can literally just touch the throttles and it disengages this, puts you back onto that helm control. But it does mean you've got the advantage of, say, from up here, now just knocked it into reverse, and I can steer the boat backwards. If you're worried about how you do that, literally turn the remote round, and effectively what you see there is what you get in terms of docking. I absolutely love these controls. There's lots of different brands out there, whether it's a DockMate system, which we fit often, Yacht Controller, and various others. But it does give you the ability, in certain circumstances, they're about £12,000 installed, so it's not a cheap option, but for the right type of skipper, can really make the difference, being able to go out and use the boat when you wish. So in terms of turning it off, literally we just turn it off on the dashboard there, gauge back on our throttles, you see it's come up with docking deactivated up there, and away we go. So we're just going to come back round. We're going to do another pass up and down here with the drone, so I'm just going to hand over to Dan. We'll get the drone set up, check back in a bit after we've got some nice running shots. So here we are, just chasing the boat as she's come up onto the plane. We're running here about 18 knots and moving along the port side here, taking in the different angles. You can see very classic Princess lines here, very much in tune with the V42, smaller sibling, and the newer V50, the larger brother that's replaced this boat over the last couple of seasons. You see it here from the front angle, very clean through the water. It is a flat day today, but the boat does ride very, very well. You'll see here as we just start to give a little bit of elevation, we get a feel for what the boat looks like from the top down, and how big that opening aperture is from the soft sunroof over the centre of the cockpit. Obviously saw the nav kit up top as well. Nice top down shot here just to show how well spread that wake is, very clean up through the middle there, and finish off a nice little look again down the running side on the port. You have to excuse the noise. We're running about 18 knots here. Just going to give you a quick look around away from the helm just to try and give you some different perspectives. So obviously a large sun pad arrangement here on the back, loads of room. I say you get 4 adults on there quite happily. You can see the platform's well clear of the water here, so no problem at all with that jet ski we talked about. If you want to carry your 2 toys, mentioning earlier in the steps here, we've also, as a med spec boat, we've got the telescoping passerelle here. So this is the bathing platform control, this is the passerelle. Obviously the door here folds away back onto the side there, so it's quite nice, sturdy. You got young kids worried about that sort of thing. Nice big heavy duty double leg there on that teak top stainless table. We've got a nice little wet bar arrangement here over on the left hand side. So we've got an ice maker, top loading pool box, and then a Kenyan griddle. Generator's 11 kVA, was replaced in 2019, so there's very little use on that, and so it's just over 100 hours running. You've got the sink there as well, and then hidden underneath here, this is like a graphite paint finish on the doors here. We've got a nice little bin cupboard. See, there's a handy cubby storage area there, and we've got some storage underneath the seats here as well. And we'll do a proper look through the garage, what have you, in the back here when we get back in. You can see in terms of like cleats, so we've got high level, we've got the low level ones for doing the transverse spring lines. We've got a little pop out transom shower there. Come around on the back here, you can see the name is backlit LED, not easy to see that in the daytime, but you can see the fittings around the back here where that arm cover those when you want to cover in the boat, and I'm going to cut a picture in here to show how that works when the boat's stationary. We'll go up on the side decks while we're running here, so you can see that I'm walking down. There's lots of nice to hold on, there's lots of good handrails here going down the deck. And we've got a secondary handhold if you want to down here. So it feels very secure. It's obviously a very solid boat. We're about 28 tons, I should think, boat of this size. And you can see here we are stood up on the bow, running along at 18 knots. Admittedly, it is a very flat day today, but what a place to come and lie out. If you're happy with somebody at the helm, very, very nice place to come and chill out. And you could be down in somewhere like Lymington in about 45 minutes from where we left the handball this morning. There are protective covers, obviously, for things like the sunbed here. So don't necessarily need to take all the cushions off when you come back in, and you can see some little poppers around the windscreen frame here as well, which allow you to put some mesh covers on for a bit of privacy when you're in the marina. And then up top, as we mentioned earlier, we've got radar, TV aerial, dual trumpets things all over there. Got a separate level for the AIS system, so it's got Raymarine 650 AIS, which is Class B. Dual VHF aerials, remote control slot up the top there. So it's got everything really you need. I know earlier it doesn't have an autopilot, which, to be honest, a boat of this size isn't a must-have, but it's not that difficult to retrofit if you ever want to. Buy the kit from Raymarine, it will talk to the rest of the kit that you've seen up on the dash already. Just in terms of like chill out areas, you can sit down here at the back. Obviously, if you imagine chatting away with friends here, you've got a very nice big U-shaped social area. There's a room down here in front of you where you can put a couple of directors' chairs, and obviously from the helm observation, if we just come up and sit on this area here, it's obviously a raised view, so now we can see out of the windows. So those are a little bit less, or more, I should say, more prone really to seasickness. Obviously being able to see the horizon is quite important, and from here it's a great view all the way around the boat. Again, at anchor you can imagine yourself chatting to friends at the back here. It's a really, really social space. You obviously got a helm and co-pilot seat here, so you can have one working the nav kit while one driving the boat. Really up to you how you want to run it. In terms of like night time, so we've got some little pretty LEDs down the side, lighting around the back here, built into the hardtop, and the roof structure itself, we'll just shut that and you can get a feel for what it's like. Nice thing being a soft roof, you obviously have a much bigger aperture when it's open. And it's 2 layers, so there's like a PVC on top to keep the water out, and then this soft lining on the inside. It does absorb a bit of the noise. Sometimes, say with a hard top, you'll get a little bit more noise reflection back into the cockpit, but really hasn't made absolutely blind bit of difference in here with the boat running along quite happily. You can see obviously from a Viz point of view, obviously it takes a little bit of the light, but not too bad at all. So we just got to the bottom of the handle here, so we're going to spin in, stay out of the way of all these boats, and we'll be heading up back to Swanwick, ready for docking. So we'll continue the tour once we slow down, and we'll have a look around inside and see what that's all about. Okay, so we're now back in the mouth of the river, just working our way back up to Swanwick. So just imagine what it's like walking down below. Open the nice big companionway hatch here, and we've got metal grip bars on the treads there, got a nice handrail there as you come down the companionway stairs there. So the wood finish in here is a natural oak satin varnish on the top there. You see at the bottom here we've got the galley arrangement over on the port side. So we've got a drawer, Fisher Paykel drawer dishwasher, Samsung convection microwave oven, loads of storage. So these are all cupboards and what have you for provisions. There's a couple little pull out drawers over this side, so this one's hiding things like the cutlery drawer in the top there. It's a nice little touch, and then these are for all your various provisions. Boat's still in commission, I say, so very much as you see it today is how the owner keeps it. So we've got a 3-burner electric hob that will work off the generator, extractor fan up above there, nice little glass splashback there on the back of the galley. Up top here, just gingerly opening things where we've been at sea, so we've got provision storage for glasses and what have you. Tucked down here under the stairs, this is a nice little touch. Sometimes a bit sticky. There you go, so you've got the actual glasses themselves rather than the acrylics you tend to use when you're out on open water. And then we've got bowls. I suspect this is plates, yeah, so plates down the bottom there, nice little embossed Princess logos and all of that. Just move the heater out of the way, so we've got a deck storage locker down there, back in the corner, and hidden beneath, so this is a freezer, and this one will be a good size refrigerator. That'll switch on to mains power when you're in port. You see we're on UK 3-pin sockets, that'll be easy enough to swap out if you wanted to EU 2-pins. Then over this side we've got an adjustable height dining table. You can see that drops down into the middle there. I haven't seen them, but there may be possibly some cushions to go in there to make a bed. Please don't assume that, check that with me if you need to, we can confirm. But certainly the table will drop down to a sufficient height, but that isn't going to be an expensive option to add if you needed to. But it's a great, nice social U-shaped seating area. Again, you could squeeze a couple of directors' chairs in down here if you wanted to be in the warmth of a saloon in the winter months. Up top, loads of, as you'd expect, high level storage. This is your main domestic control panel for the electrics. So we've got the AC side, which leads onto the little breakers here. Then we've got the DC and the actual battery isolators. You'll notice on some of the other boats that we film, those are up in the cockpit on these, and some of the other brands out there, it's quite normal to have them downstairs like this. And then you've got your DVD player down there, which is also Bluetooth linked into things like speakers up top here. We've got a nice size Samsung LED TV on the aft bulkhead there. Blinds, you can see obviously they're rotating slats, or you can obviously lift them right up when you wish, and you've got nice little opening port lights. So forwards, this is the day head door, so accessed either from the front cabin as what we call a Jack and Jill arrangement, or here the guests that maybe aren't sleeping on board. So in the corner, good size shower stall there, electric toilet system, and the sink and what have you. The aircon system's plumbed throughout the boat. It's 56,000 BTU from memory, which is a tropical spec, might be 54,000, but certainly it's a very powerful system. And here we are now walking into what would effectively be cabin number 2, which is your guest cabin. So we're up in the bows of the boat, currently configured in a double, so these two sections are slid together to give you that lovely big island bed. They can obviously part out and then sit down the side for those that aren't quite so friendly, or if you've got young kids on board, works very well as well. Tucked down behind the door here, you can see obviously second access into that heads compartment. And up top, as is quite normal, we've got all the cupboards for storage. There's blind on the top, there's a mosquito screen on that as well. And across on this side, wardrobe, you can see bags full of documentation and manuals and what have you. Sailboat's got all the correct title paperwork. We're just 3 owners from new. Nothing to be worried about in that respect going forward. So we just come on aft, past the stairs, and we're down into the midships master. You'll notice we're going down some stairs here. As we get into the centre of the boat, it just allows a little bit more width on the cabin, and you can see as we look in through the door here facing aft how they've managed to tuck this in. So we've got quite a good size ceiling in here. You obviously see there are some cutouts where the floor is raised here, so that I can still stand just under 6 foot myself. You can see we've got some space in here, and it's quite a peaceful place despite the fact the engines are running, and that isn't normally on a boat this sort of size how you would use it. We've got a nice little sofa area there. You can see these big bonded in glass windows with a little opening port lights, handy for ventilation. Nice little bedside tables, LED reading lights there, and some detail here on the headboard with the stainless strip inlay and what have you. The other side, obviously, we've got a bank of drawers, nice flat screen, very wafer thin LED TV there, and then we've got the main wardrobe over here. I pulled the blinds up just to let some light in, but obviously it's ability to shut all of that down at night to give you a bit more privacy. And we're on LED lighting throughout down here, so it's nice, bright and airy. You can see things like the aircon controls here. So all in all, very nicely spec'd, well appointed, and as you can see, just looking around the general condition, scanning through things like the carpets, perhaps wouldn't do them some harm for a new owner to have them professionally cleaned, but I have to say, the boat presents very nicely. Owner's obviously clearly well maintained, and an ideal time now going into that busy season to take advantage of what is now quite a rare boat on the market. So we're just going to head back up to Swanwick, get our ropes and fenders out, and the last bit we'll conclude with some docking manoeuvres, and then we'll finish off having a look around the engine room and the garage. Okay, so we have arrived back into Swanwick, as you can see. So we're on the pontoon here. So we could take it in on the sticks, but as I keep getting requests of how these joystick systems work, I'm just going to do a demo bringing her back in alongside. So just giving it a little bit of rotation there on the joystick. You see the nose coming round. And whilst it's doing that, I'm just going to drop the side window here so that I can stick my head out. And we are going to come in here on the starboard side, facing nose in, request of the owner who's down tomorrow. So we set the boat up. You can see we've got the bow line coming down the deck here, looped over the side here, so it's easy to take. Dan's on the back there, so he's literally just going to step off when we get in alongside the pontoon. So we can just rotate round. We just knock it forward there, so it's now engaged drive, both engines together. And as I rotate the top there, you see on the other camera, nose just coming round. Tide has just turned, so tide is now coming in, which means it's going from this way across to this way. And the boat that was out when we came in earlier is now back in on her mooring. So we've actually set up some fenders high on this side, just in case things don't quite go to plan. It does mean we've got a get out of jail card there. So the wind's died right off now, as it often does this time of night. So we're just doing little movements on the stick here. So IPS works best really in 90-degree movements, so tend to go forward up to the point of where our mooring is, and then we will do a rotation. So just say knocking it gently in and out of gear here, bringing it up the middle of the fairway. Nice thing here at Swanwick, plenty of room, and as I mentioned earlier, the berth is potentially available. So just going to come a little bit further. Nice thing with it, obviously, in its low power configuration, everything happens nice and gentle. Wind will be coming on our right hand side as we turn into the mooring, so it will be blowing us off. So we're just going to stop the boat here. We're going to rotate round. Just gentle movements here. And I'm going to turn my bow thruster on as well. Shouldn't need it, but it's nice to know it's there. Did everything nice and slow. If you ever need to put it into high power mode, it gives you about another 800 RPM on the joystick. Can be quite handy on really windy days. But on a day like today, it's preference to try and do it nice and slow. So pretty much going to get lined up on the mooring here, as you can see. Nice thing is, obviously we can stick the nose out of the window here and we can see what's going on. And we can just tease it in, so you can see the pontoon down there. It's going to walk the boat forward. And into the mooring, so we can see the pontoon down here next to us. So just from time to time I'm giving it some sideways thrust here to the right, so because the wind is gently blowing us off the mooring here. So if you drive it on the sticks, everything's effectively back to front, so it does mean you've got to think in your head which control's doing what. We're pretty much in now, so just going to tease it a little bit more. See, Dan's just stepped up on the back there. Obviously don't want to go too far forward or the nose will be overhanging the pontoon. So we're in peace and quiet there. Didn't need to use bow thruster. Obviously everything's very, very easy to do with this system. Absolutely revolutionised boating for those that aren't so comfortable using all of the various controls available to them that we see. So Dan's just walking that stern line forward there. He's just going to ask me to knock it ahead there, which is just going to take the tension up on the line at the back. Tie that off down there, and that will basically keep our stern in. And then you'll see him take this line here next to us, and that will go down and it'll tie off the bow. So here he is, just pull it off the deck there. Tied off, and we are in. So we can now power down our engines, which is just simply the reverse of what we did earlier. So literally stop buttons here, and we hear the engine fans run for a few minutes more whilst it cools down in there. So let's do some other bits. So we're going to need to turn our ignitions off here, and if we come down to the back, we can do the garage. Little button in the back here, up it comes. If you've got the covers on, it is possible to lift it up, but you do need to just crack off a couple of the zips so you don't tear them. Just going to stick my shoes back on as that platform's got some water on it. So down the back here, you can see how this garage arrangement works. So you can see there's a 325 in there, say 285 also fits as well. There's a little drop over roller system on the back here, and that allows you to launch and recover. You've got a little winch control over on this side. This particular boat looks like it's had a mains domestic socket added in the garage here, so you've got a trickle charger for the jet tender. I suspect that will go with the tender, but to wait and see what the owner chooses to do with that. This is a little emergency arm for going into the garage. Lid there just for belt and braces approach when you're working in here. For really serious maintenance works in the engine, there is actually part of the garage floor can come out if you ever need to. But you can see how much space there is, plenty of room for wakeboards and water sports equipment and what have you sat on top of the boat itself. You can also store your covers in here, and you can see the power and what have you up the top there for the backlit name. So we'll just drop that back down. So, and engine room. So you will get a bit of noise in here, I'm afraid, because the the cooling fans are still running. We'll go and have a quick look and I'll point out a few important bits to you. So we come down the ladder here, you notice forwards or backwards. Fire suppression system here on the bulkhead. As with all boats this size, everything's quite tight, but minimum time really needed in here for maintenance and what have you. So we've got the generator running thwartships in front of the engine. You can see, being a D6 engine, they're very compact, 435 horsepower a piece. You can see things like the clear bowl strainer lids on the top here. So these are regular checks. You've got dipsticks on top of the engine here. They've handed into the middle there, so not difficult to do. There's a bit of crawling around in here, but I say it is at the positive side of that is giving you a lot more room up top to enjoy day to day. So we've got battery boxes here. I'm currently sat, this is the Seakeeper Gyro system. As it was so flat out there today, we didn't bother trying to demonstrate that to you really, but it's something we can test on the survey for sure if you get that far, show you how it works. And then up on bulkheads, we've got things like chargers, like this, and bits for engine spares. This will be a filter for the water maker, and the letterbox passerelle system up top there. I'll just stick the camera down the back here. I'm not going to climb in there, but you've got the pods right down in the centre section there. That's an aircon circulation pump in the middle, and hydraulic packs around the corner here for things like the bathing platform and the passerelle box, etc. So from a maintenance point of view, say everything's easy to get to, and you can see the floors in here are nice and clean and tidy. The boat's clearly been loved, well maintained, and I wouldn't expect there to be too many things that come up on the survey. So let's head back up onto the deck. Drop that back down. So that's us done. Hope you've enjoyed that. Nice opportunity to get out and show this one. I've been meaning to do this one for a few weeks now, but it's first opportunity with the weather and what have you to get her out. So the big question, what she's asking, so she's on the market at £684,995, and she is, to say, UK tax paid, so great opportunity here. Replacement now for this, the V50, running into the sort of £1.2 million zone, so it's a good saving on new, and there is a big waiting list going forward, so great opportunity. I say with the berth here as well, it's a great opportunity to be on the south coast this summer. If you'd like to know more, as always, it's james@sunseekersouthampton.com, or mobile is +44 7747 686 587, and we look forward to hearing from you soon.